Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in once again to the Black Box Podcast, BBOR Black Box Online Radio. Now, it's been a while since the last upload, and I thought that I would be doing another video on the upcoming election for 2020. I know these things aren't super popular, but I have to admit it's just a sort of a subject of fascination, if you will. And recently, for the Libertarian Party, Adam Kokesh has announced that he is going to be running for the presidency. And I did one previous upload on the Libertarians and, who are they going to put up, and I was saying that they should stay away from John McAfee, stay away from William Weld, and they really needed someone who could act sort of as a game changer. First, the other thing to say on that is Austin Peterson from the 2016 campaign will not be running, and I believe now, presently, Adam Kokesh is only 36 years old, so the reason he did not run last time is because he was ineligible because of the age requirement. Now, I had some exposure to Adam Kokesh just from some of his videos on YouTube. I mean, that's really the only thing that I have, delved into, and just from hearing him talk on YouTube, I think that, he has the energy and he has the presence to sort of really generate a lot of enthusiasm for the for the Libertarian ticket. And that's what the Libertarians really need. They need someone who can have the energy, but, also have integrity. And, that's where they went wrong in 2016. I mean, Gary Johnson really had this very, 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 not even classic liberal, but this very scaled down version of libertarianism. But on the other hand, it was also somewhat realist. He also had policies that could actually be implemented. He was for the fair tax. He was, he had very strict things about, just sort of legalizing gay marriage, of course, marijuana. He really did not have stronger issues on prostitution and hard drugs. And, he had wavering stances on the latter. And that really sort of held him back. But Gary Johnson is done. He is not running. He will never seek political office again, in his own words. So that's all we can really say. Gary Johnson was too mild. William Weld would not be a good choice for the Libertarian ticket because, again, he's too much of an establishment figure, It's he was probably someone who could generate some ideas that could actually be implemented into policy. But once again, he does not bring the energy that the Libertarian Party is going to need if they want to succeed in the polls. Now, some guy like Adam Kokesh, I think that he could. I think he could generate a lot of buzz, a lot of enthusiasm, on his website, kokeshforpresident.com. He's promoting, if you'd like to read the book I started writing when I was in jail, here it is. He's all about civil disobedience. That's a hot issue for people all across the spectrum, whether they are libertarians or whether they are just into English literature. So, aside from that, I mean, he's saying on his website that he is going to, if he becomes president, sign one executive order that would dissolve the government. Now, is this actually going to happen? No. That's the short end of it. If we want to talk anarcho-capitalism, it's really just not something that can be implemented into policy. So, I'm all for new ideas. I'm all for creative ideas. I'm all for thinking outside the box and not being restricted to party guidelines. But, it's I would hope that the Libertarians are also going to be discussing some hard policy during the debates. And energy is one thing, but we also need policy solutions in the Libertarian mindset. And I really want to hear more discussions on the fair tax. I mean, we're talking the 23% sales tax, and this is a consumption tax. It replaces the income tax and abolishes the IRS. But the biggest thing about this is it's being embraced by people from all across the spectrum. The Democrat Andrew Yang, who's running for president, wants a 10% consumption tax. And the Humanity Party, which again, is just a new political party, who is, again, they're all about, unity, and I don't even think they're running candidates. You just write in the Humanity Party, and it's sort of, again, similar to anarcho-capitalism, but they're promoting the fair tax, their own variant of it. And one of the biggest things about the fair tax is every month people would receive a prebate, or you could call this the universal basic income, or the cost of necessities. They receive that money. So it's a plan to greatly reduce poverty. And I would just like to hear more discussion about that. I would like to hear more argumentation about that, because the Humanity Party says that it should not be given in cash. They are very strict about this. They're like, do not give people, money. Let's give them a voucher program that could only be spent on food, clothing, and shelter materials. That of course would include things like utilities, like paying your water bill and such. But, if you think that's impossible, it's not. It can be done very easily. We have the technology to do that now. And, certain items can be declined and certain items can be approved. I mean, piece of cake, cakewalk. It can be done very easily, But what I also hear from, Adam Kokesh is I don't think he would be in favor of that. He probably seems like someone who, would be in favor of absolutely zero taxation. Just transactions are a tax in themselves, as Ron Paul said. And Adam Kokesh seems like he's really in touch with the thinking of Ron Paul. And the first video I ever saw from him, he was just sort of like praising Ron Paul to no end. Why? Because of end the Fed, end the Federal Reserve, the government within a government. And we really need to do more conversations about what we're going to do with the Federal Reserve. Private bankers printing the public money that just sort of, happened out of Jekyll Island. We need a new solution. The current plan is not working. And if he's going to bring that front and center, the issues of the Federal Reserve, more power to him. He also has a plan about keeping the national parks. Even if you dissolve the federal government, the national parks should be kept as nonprofit entities, nonprofit organizations. Well, welcome that. I mean, again, that seems like some heart and soul. But in reality, though, I would hope that the libertarians are also going to be talking about ideals. They're also going to be talking about things other than just dissolving the government. I want to hear more policies that are done in a libertarian manner. I talked about the fair taxes one. Another one would be the issue of prostitution. I mean, do they want to legalize prostitution and regulate it so these people who are involved with it can get regular medical checkups and, they don't have to hide their income. But one thing, if you institute the fair tax is you can't hide your profits on the open exchange. No matter what, if someone's a prostitute or a drug dealer or a gang member or, say an undocumented individual, they would be paying into the system. I mean, Mike Huckabee had that great presentation on that, even though he's, ran as a Republican. But the other thing to note with that is tourists. Tourists would also be paying into the system. They would also, be contributing to the economy. So there is a strong argument that the fair tax might actually generate more revenue than the current income tax. And, there are going to be some other modifications, and I don't really know how much Adam Kokesh would endorse that, and it's just going to sort of be like, again, I want to hear some policy things, but energy is going to be important. And the libertarians cannot have a lollygagger like Gary Johnson who is just going to be like, well, I support marijuana because I use it. I don't really know what to say about prostitution or hard drugs because I don't use them. That should be the wrong way. That was the wrong way for the libertarians to approach this. I would hope that they have somebody that is really going to be centered on principles, but also, have very creative ideas that we can put into action. Because let's face it, the current Washington system is controlled by gridlock, It's just sort of like two gears that can't move. And, it's like we need something that is going to be a little more solution friendly, if for lack of a better term. I know that sounds terrible, but that's what we need. And I would really like to see a libertarian candidate that can also generate enough energy to get the 5% that is required for federal matching funds. But when you start out, you got to do more than that. And, you need 15% to qualify for the debates, to debate against the Democrats and the Republicans. And could a guy like Adam Kokesh do that? It's really just going to be about how much attention he can really get through social media. I don't really see him generating a lot of funds, but anyway, it's like it's going to be very difficult to fundraise. But we do have social media, and we do have abilities to share content. And once again, the fair tax, the consumption tax, whatever you want to call it, it has been receiving an enormous amount of attention, and it's getting support from all sides. Democrats, Libertarians, Republicans, Independents, everybody is talking about taxing consumption instead of doing this income tax, which frankly does not seem to be good enough. Whatever you think about our current tax system, it's not good enough. So I would hope that if anybody, the Libertarians are going to bring more ideas to the table whenever it comes to the policies of taxation. And if you want to know more about Adam Kokesh, his website is kokeshforpresident.com, just like that, kokeshforpresident.com. And, he has videos all on YouTube, and I feel good about him running for president. He is going to he's going to do some very large publicity stunts, and he's going to get some press, and he is going to draw some crowds. That's the phrase that I wanted to say. So if anything, the Libertarians, at least have one person who is going to make some noise, if you will, and the only question I want to know now is, can he climb in the polls?